The political establishment's in full meltdown mode over Jimmy Kimmel's suspension. Eric Swalwell ran to the cameras claiming it should shake every American that a comedian got fired. Chuck Schumer demanded the FCC chair resign immediately. The panic is real, and it's revealing. Why are Democrats losing their minds over a late-night host who mocked a murdered patriot? Well, I'll tell you why. Because Kimmel was their attack dog. And now that attack dog has been put down. Inside sources say he's going nuclear, and he's furious over ABC's decision. But here's what they won't tell you. This was actually brewing for months. Bad ratings, bad comedy, and finally crossing the line by dancing on Charlie Kirk's grave. The regime just lost their court jester. Keep on watching. And while Hollywood elites like Kimmel age terribly under the pressure of their failing careers, there's something that actually helps fight the aging process. A 2025 survey found over half of U.S. adults are concerned about how fast their skin is aging. And 40% fixate on random wrinkles or dark spots. If that sounds like you, you're not alone. More and more people are noticing visible changes in their skin far earlier than expected. That's why I use my secret anti-aging weapon. I'm obsessed with the changes I've noticed in my skin. It provides my skin with 5 must-have types of premium collagen needed to help reduce wrinkles. Since taking it, I've experienced smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer fine lines, and a more youthful glow. Plus, it mixes smoothly with my morning coffee. No taste or clumps. Be sure to grab a bag of ageless multi-collagen before this segment's over. Get it 51% off at healthwithgary.com. Help takes years off the clock. Plus, by ordering now, you're guaranteed to get free VIP life and health fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, free shipping. Once again, that website is healthwithgary.com. You'll find a link below, and we thank them for supporting this program. President Trump on Air Force One just a few hours ago. He was confronted with the question about Jimmy Kimmel. Gavin Newsom, of course, actually posted the clip, which is funny. Gavin Newsom says, "We can't normalize this. He's not going to stop."
That's something that should be talked about for licensing, too. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative on in years or something, somebody said. But when you go back and take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party. Thank you, everybody. Look,
Yeah, for years, I stopped watching late night shows. I really did. They used to be funny. They used to be great. You know, comedy hit on all sides. It wasn't one-sided. I mean, now Stephen Colbert, he's been shown the door. Jimmy Kimmel's been shown the door. And Trump's right. See, these are broadcast airwaves. They have to have a license to operate on those airwaves, and they have to perform for the public interest. But when you're spreading straight up lies to the American people, that goes against the public interest. That's the law. All right? The FCC, we got clips, like multiple clips here from the FCC chairman, okay, Brandon Carr, discussing these points. Before we get to that, though, Keith Olbermann. Oh, man. If there's one guy who's just an unhinged lunatic, it's Keith Olbermann. This is what he posted 19 hours ago. Disney, Bob Iger, ABC prostitute themselves for Trump. Kimmel off the air for truth-telling about Charlie Kirk's hate speech. MAGA exploitation of his death. Kirk died because he lived in the violent madness of Trump's America. That's Keith Olbermann.
In this country, now that we can say with some certainty that if Tyler Robinson indeed shot Charlie Kirk, he shot him for personal reasons because he saw Kirk as a direct threat to somebody he loved. That Robinson was not a stochastic proxy murderer from Antifa or the Groypers or the right-wingers who had so recently called Kirk a fraud, like Laura Loomer. It is then also clear that there is truly only one person whose words created, amplified, mainstreamed, and manufactured this nightmarish environment that has led to Charlie Kirk's death. the leading threat in this country, in this moment, to the safety and the lives of conservatives and Republicans and MAGA commentators and politicians and civilians is not George Soros, and it's not Antifa, and it's not a Democrat, nor a liberal, nor a socialist, nor an immigrant, nor a transgendered person. The leading threat in this country, in this moment, to the safety and the lives of conservatives and Republicans and MAGA is
Keith Olbermann. Now get on your knees and do your job. Okay? Because my shoes need polishing, Keith. I don't even know how this guy can look himself in the mirror at night. How does he go to sleep? You and I have seen the rhetoric for years and years and years. The dehumanization, the amplification of hate, the demands for confrontation. We've played those clips over and over and over again. And for this clown to try to say that it's Donald Trump, I don't know what planet he's on. He's just a disgrace. An absolute disgrace. But on the lighter side of the news, J.D. Vance posting this. Can you see what it says? Let me see if I can get a better shot for you. J.D. Vance, everyone please congratulate Marco Rubio, the new host of ABC's Late Night Show. Oh, J.D. Vance is starting to get a little funny. Speaking of losers, we've got this guy, Don Lemon. Remember him? His ass got canned, too. Apparently, he was on Piers Morgan. trying to maintain some relevance. If you recall the other day, he was claiming that MAGA influencers were exploiting Charlie Kirk's death for clicks. How dare you? How freaking dare you? We lost one of our own, you sick son of a bitch. And you're going to tell me I'm making videos for clicks? You're out there on the street provoking people, trying to lead them with framed questions. You're the sick son of a bitch who's out there chasing the clicks, trying to capitalize on Charlie Kirk's assassination. Pardon me. I get a little worked up sometimes. But here's Don Lemon getting pissed off at Piers Morgan for showing him the clip that got him fired. Now, I'm not a big fan of Piers Morgan, but, he's been hosting some pretty good stuff lately. So I want to give him some credit. Let's enjoy this moment, shall we? Don Lemon getting confronted with the clip that got his ass fired.
Yeah, that's why
this is what led to you leaving CNN. Let's take a look at the clip.
she says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't.
Okay. All right. Watch his expression. I caught it right as the camera, just before it cut away to the clip. Well, I'm going to put it in slow motion because I want you to see this frame by frame. I'm putting it at 25% speed. I'm going to mute it so you don't hear it. Just watch. Okay, Piers Morgan is he's saying, all right, let's play the clip. Don Lemon looking down, looking away, and he's like, getting ready to look. That is the look of shame. God, I wish I had that frame shot. Oh, where is it, please? Can we get it? Can we? Wait. Oh, okay. He's about to look up at a screen that's going to show the clip. Up. Oh yeah. Don Lemon. Okay, so we've seen this clip before, but it's always a beautiful moment when we can relish in the time that this scumbag was taken off CNN, just like so many other scumbags.
What led to you leaving CNN? Let's take a look at the clip.
She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another.
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree with that. So I think she has to be careful about saying that.
When you watch that, Don, I happened to be watching that live, and I was like, "Whoa, what did you just say?" If you had a do-over, would you say that again? I mean, what led you to say that?
Okay, Piers, let me just say this. I'm going to answer your question, but just so the audience knows, and I hope you don't cut this out, when I asked you what subjects you wanted to talk about, you know what you said to me? You said, I want to talk to you about freedom of speech in America and the response to Charlie Kirk's death.
Yeah.
Not once did you mention that we were going to talk about CNN or whatever. So, and had I known that, I probably wouldn't have accepted this interview. You have invited me on many times, and I tell you, Piers, I know you. I would come on your show, but I don't do panels. And so when you said I'm not going to be involved in a panel, I agreed to come on your show. But I thought you would also stick by the subjects that you told me that you were going to talk about.
Just to be clear,
rather than try to ambush me with something.
Just to be clear,
so,
you and I
yes.
haven't. Well, Don, just to be clear, you and I haven't had any conversation about your appearance here. You're talking about my team talking to you.
Yeah, no, and I saw you, Piers, in a restaurant, and I said, hey, Piers, good to see you. Yeah. I would come on your show, but I don't do panels.
Right.
And I said the same thing to your bookers.
There's only one of you,
And so when I asked you, right. Okay, and so, yes. And
okay, Don. Who cares, man? You're still a loser. Speaking of losers, CNN and Brian Stelter are absolutely melting down after ABC pulled Jimmy Kimmel off the air. Nick Sortor writes, we've sent the left into a total tailspin. Charlie would be so proud of us.
About job.
Go ahead. I'm interested because are they sending everyone home? You know, what's happening on the scene? You know, the show would have been taping within the next hour. So people would be there. Yes, this is very abrupt, very abrupt.
And this is all about jawboning. It's all about public pressure. You know, actually revoking FCC licenses is extremely difficult. I wrote about this last fall when candidate Donald Trump was talking on the campaign trail about wanting to punish stations by taking away their licenses. And throughout the history of the country, ever since we've had broadcast television, license revocations are extraordinarily rare. Once you've got one, you're pretty much guaranteed to keep it. So the threat is not that the FCC is actually going to take away a license. It's about the public noise. It's about the shame and embarrassment. It's about Brandon Carr going on podcasts and embarrassing ABC. You know, there's a
let him embarrass the shit out of ABC. All right, but see, it was ABC's decision, not Brandon Carr's, not Donald Trump's. Okay, just like all the leftists who are out there losing their jobs for celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. That's what just happened in real time to Jimmy Kimmel. So what is Brandon Carr saying? Trump's FCC chair, they are facing the consequences of the choices they made. If you have a license from the FCC, we expect you to serve the public interest. Oh, and he's been making the rounds. He's been making the rounds. Let's check this out. This is one of his hits on Fox.
Again, you can do the same thing with Kimmel. They're now facing the consequences of the choices that they made to appeal to a very, very narrow audience. Again, you can do that. You can start a podcast. You can go on YouTube. But if you're going to have a license from the FCC, we expect you to broadly serve the public interest. Same thing with Kimmel.
And that's why we're on YouTube. Here is the Trump FCC chair, Brandon Carr, threatening ABC and Disney over Kimmel's Charlie Kirk comments with Benny Johnson.
Work for the FCC. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, you know, there's going to be additional work for the FCC. Again, there's actions that we can take on licensed broadcasters. And frankly, I think that it's really sort of past time that a lot of these licensed broadcasters themselves push back on Comcast and Disney and say, listen, we are going to preempt. We are not going to run Kimmel anymore until you straighten this out, because we licensed broadcaster, are running the possibility of fines or license revocations from the FCC if we continue to run content that ends up being a pattern of news distortion. So,
and that's exactly what it is. Distortion, lies. And that is what Jimmy Kimmel presented. Here he is again on CNBC, FCC Chair Brandon Carr. Jimmy Kimmel is no Johnny Carson. And you know what's so sad is I used to really enjoy Jimmy Kimmel. I used to enjoy his show. He was a funny guy. And the minute Trump got into office, everything changed. They all became late-night losers. Let's listen to what he has to say on CNBC.
He's not. My colleagues to remembering, though, the times of Johnny Carson. Now, again, to that point, Chairman, I mean, the administration in power was typically the subject of most of his jokes, as would seem to be the case now. I mean, these are comedians we're talking about. This is not the news.
Well, look, I can tell you, Jimmy Kimmel is no Johnny Carson. And the issue that arose here where lots and lots of people were upset was not a joke. It was not, making fun or pillaring me or the administration or the president. It was appearing to directly mislead the American public about a significant fact of probably one of the most significant political events we've had in a long time. It's really the most significant political assassination we've seen in a long time. And so I think
my colleagues.
He was specifically misleading the American public. It was not satire. It was not a joke. It was a direct statement designed to deceive the American people. Sinclair Media says they will air a special remembrance of Charlie Kirk during Jimmy Kimmel's time slot on Friday. Here's the official statement from Sinclair Media Group. Now, Adam Schiff decided, of course, to weigh in. I wish he was weighing in from his prison cell. However, that has not happened yet. We're still praying for that moment of justice for the American people, for pencil neck Adam Schiff's deceit and lies. But, so Adam Schiff, he wrote this. Kimmel, Colbert, suits against the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and 60 Minutes, extorting settlements from CBS, ABC, and others, blocking the AP's access to the White House. This administration is responsible for the most blatant attacks on the free press in American history. What will be left of the First Amendment when he's done? Oh, Adam Schiff. I mean, I'm not going to go really point by point here to refute all this stuff because it's really too easy. But, of course, you guys remember the 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris, things getting edited out of context, false articles being published in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, everything. Come on, guys. We don't need, you and I, we've covered this. You guys have been here. You've seen it. So I replied to this scumbag. Said, Adam, you crying about the First Amendment is rich. In 2019, you wrote letters pressuring Google and Facebook to bury vaccine content you didn't like. During COVID, you pushed platforms to throttle dissent, much of which later turned out to be true. In 2022, you leaned on Twitter after Musk took over because the wrong voices were getting reach, and you floated gutting Section 230, which would force platforms to censor more speech. You weren't defending free expression, you were silencing Americans. So I just gave you the examples of when Adam Schiff worked against the First Amendment. But he wasn't alone. James Woods posting this meme, a picture of Jimmy Kimmel picking lettuce. But who will pick our crops? Here's my response to Gavin Newsom. So Gavin Newsom decided that he was going to actually try to use Brandon Carr's own words against him. I just played you some of those clips. Brandon Carr on 3 different news outlets. And Gavin Newsom takes a screenshot of a previous post of Brandon Carr and says, "This aged well." So what did he say? President Biden is right. These are the words of Brandon Carr, May 2nd of 2022. President Biden is right. Political satire is one of the oldest and most important forms of free speech. It challenges those in power while using humor to draw more people into the discussion. That's why people in influential positions have always targeted it for censorship. And I just had to correct the governor. Kimmel wasn't doing satire, Gavin. He was flat out lying. He smeared Charlie Kirk's murder as MAGA, when in reality the killer was a radical leftist. There's a big difference between comedy and spreading disinformation to protect your side. Oh, and Gavin, this is satire courtesy of Mr. Reagan.
Parody video. Hi, I'm Gavin Newsom, and I'm definitely not gay. A lot of people are criticizing me for banning AI-generated political videos. So let me explain. The problem is that Democrats, like me, we're not the brightest bulbs in the tanning bed. We can't always distinguish between reality and fiction. When Elon Musk posted Mr. Reagan's brilliant Kamala Harris parody video, I thought that was real. And so I realized, without laws governing what we are allowed to see and hear, how will we ever know what's really true? If I don't ban Mr. Reagan's AI parody videos, how would we ever know that Trump will be a dictator on day one, or that if he doesn't win, he's promised a bloodbath? How would we know that...
That's satire, Gavin. Shout out to Mr. Reagan for that glorious piece. Oh, and Governor Pritzker. I didn't have time to respond to him. He said a free and democratic society cannot silence comedians because the president doesn't like what they say. This is an attack on free speech and cannot be allowed to stand. All elected officials need to speak up and push back on this undemocratic act. Again, Jimmy Kimmel was not presenting comedy in that moment. He was presenting deceit and lies to the American people. Okay? That's what it was. And Governor Pritzker is particularly pissed because he was on Jimmy Kimmel's show just a few months back in May. You see, Governor Pritzker needs Jimmy Kimmel at that desk because Governor Pritzker has presidential aspirations. He needs a safe place to go to spread his own brand of deceit. So, of course, Governor Pritzker is sad that his best friend, his sounding board of lies, just got the axe. Now, to be clear, ABC said this was indefinite. How long is that going to last? I'm not sure. I'm hoping that it's in perpetuity. I hope they can find somebody who actually can stand up and deliver real comedy. And you know what? I don't care. I'm certainly fine with taking a few jabs on conservative perspectives. But can you make it funny and balanced? Because when all you do is go after one side, it gets kind of old and people turn it off. I mean, I would tune in if you were taking jabs at Pelosi and Schumer and Newsom and Pritzker and Trump and Cash. All right? Because I can take a joke. But when it's all one-sided, it just becomes an attack piece. I mean, back in the day, the late-night hosts, they could balance their humor. But not anymore. Here's President Trump telling why Jimmy Kimmel was fired. And this is when Trump was overseas with the Brits in the United Kingdom.
He was fired. Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else. And he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent. Well, Jimmy...
He was fired for lack of talent. Jamie... posting this reply to Governor Pritzker. Read his contract, Mr. Pritzker. ABC made the decision. No one was coerced. The White House didn't make the call. If they had such power, a heck of a lot more would be unemployed. You're pushing lies, inciting extremists, rather than addressing why Kimmel was suspended. Curtis Houck, posting this from Joseph Moreno, burst the liberal bubble on CNN about Jimmy Kimmel's suspension. This on CNN.
Republican as you're going to get. I don't think this is a legal issue. I don't think this can be pointed to the FCC or the Trump administration and say, well, this is about them going after Kimmel because of what he said. Personally, I think it's more of a cultural issue. And I got to tell you, look, I'm about as moderate a Republican as you're going to get. I'm from New York. I have not been comfortable watching late night television for 15 years because when you have conservative leanings and you're constantly mocked and you constantly feel like you're doing something wrong, you shut it off. You don't watch it anymore. And then what happens is it's circular. If the host doesn't have that audience, the host doesn't worry about keeping an audience like that. It goes in circles. And at some point, you get things like this where you say,
you know what? How crazy. That's exactly what I just said. Oh. Here's Sean Hannity weighing in on Pritzker and Newsom, as I just did. Now, I haven't seen this clip yet. Let's see what Hannity's take is.
Conservative. Now, the left already, starting with Humpty Dumpty, fake news, CNN, J.B. Pritzker, Gavin Newsom, predictably claiming this is conservative censorship. The MAGA crowd, Donald Trump got Jimmy Kimmel. That is false. I can't find a single prominent conservative voice in the country that even remotely wanted or hoped or was pushing to get Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air. Nobody, it just was simple. People changed the channel. They didn't.
Yeah.
Now,
I don't think you can go back into my archives and actually find me declaring that Jimmy Kimmel should be taken off the air. I don't believe I've ever said that. Maybe I have. Maybe I haven't. But at the same time, Hannity's right. Change the channel. Don't watch. I mean, I don't even have time to watch these losers. Okay? I'm gonna fight for this country. And I'm not even going to give them the airtime on my television. If anything, I'm going to spend that time with my family. Okay? Scott Jennings on CNN. Do I defend Jimmy Kimmel going on television and saying a shooter from the left?
Professor, and you use the phrase propaganda, Professor, and I just have to ask you, what do you consider what Jimmy Kimmel was doing every night or what Stephen Colbert was doing by having on only Democratic guests? Jimmy Kimmel Monday night flat lied about the shooter. Back in the spring, he egged his audience on in cheering on the violence against and wanting, kind of wishing, I think, the downfall of a publicly traded company, Tesla. Do you consider that to be propaganda? Is it good for a business?
Do you consider that to be free speech, Scott?
You use the phrase propaganda.
I'm asking you. You used the words free speech before. Do you consider that free speech?
I consider it to be speech, and he's obviously free to say it.
Will you defend that speech in this country that will defend to the death the speech of others? Will you defend Jimmy Kimmel's speech?
Do I defend Jimmy Kimmel going on television and saying that a shooter from the left?
You defend his right to do so.
He has a right to do so, but he does not have a right to have a television show where he lies his ass off to the American people and attacks this country on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, Scott. Comedian Pete Dominick joins the lefties melting down over ABC's decision to pull Kimmel. Again, of course, on CNN.
Being with us, were Kimmel's comments enough, do you think, to get him suspended? Or do you think this was more of a business decision about the profitability of late night shows?
Neither. And we need to stop asking those questions with all due respect, Boris. If we covered the campaign, if you read Project 2025, if you know Brendan Carr, if you understand what the Trump administration has been wanting to do, this is part of their game plan. They're using the assassination of Charlie Kirk to destroy careers of teachers, educators, board members, anybody who speaks out and says anything that they don't like. This has
Actually, no, it's not President Trump. It's not. See, what's happening here is people are actually going online and they're posting outrageous statements celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. And people who have had enough of it are finding out who those people are, finding out where they work, and getting those people fired. You are free to say whatever you want. But remember, speech has consequences. End of story. So Kimmel was free to say what he said, and ABC was free to send his ass packing. Are you with me on this? So when you got this comedian Pete Dominick melting down, like it's so predictable. This was the big plan of Project 2025 from the beginning. This is Project 2025 in action. So I guess by your logic, it was ABC News that picked up the Heritage Foundation's documents and said, wait a second, turn to page 352. Yeah, right there. That's where it says, the next time Jimmy Kimmel steps out of line, you fire his ass. So ABC took that from Project 2025 and executed the plan. No, that's not the case. But they would have you believe that to be the case. Like they want you to think that like Donald Trump and like Brandon Carr walked into ABC's offices with a Project 2025 book and said, here you go. See, it says right here on this page, you must follow our dictates. Right here. Ah, fire him now. No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. Kimmel freaking lied to America in a monologue, and now there's consequences. And the sad part is all those people that show employed. Think about all of those people. You got regular folks, camera operators, grips, graphic designers, set dressers, audio technicians. I'm sure they're going to go find another show to work on. But what's going to happen to Guillermo? Where's he going to get a job at now? I guess he'll just have to go do security at Colbert Show. Oh, actually, no. Colbert got his ass fired, too. Okay, Bill O'Reilly. Let's see what Bill O'Reilly's saying. Oh, it's so funny. How funny is it, though, that he's on News Nation with Fredo Cuomo, who is also fired from CNN. Oh, okay. Let's see what Bill O'Reilly is talking about with Fredo.
Know that. What Kimmel did is inexplicable to me. And maybe he'll come on your show and explain it to you or my show, the No Spin News. He had to know on Monday in his dialogue how raw the country was over this assassination of Charlie Kirk. He had to know that. And to use his monologue, which is usually comedic, to mislead the entire country by implying that MAGA Trump supporters were really behind the murder. To do that, I'm saying you have a battery of writers, you have a producer on your program. Did no one red flag you on this? Did no one say anything about this? This isn't about censorship, all right? This is about responsibility. And as you pointed out correctly, every corporation has a responsibility to make sure the product it is selling is an honest product.
It's just hearing Bill O'Reilly say this on Chris Cuomo on his show. Corporations have a responsibility for their product. Chris Cuomo was the product of CNN during COVID, abusing his relationship with the governor, his brother, and his resources to shape a narrative. Bye-bye, Fredo. Oh, this is too funny, man. I can only wonder, like, look at Chris Cuomo's face. He looks so sad. He's going, yeah, I really screwed that one up over there at CNN. Now I'm on News Nation arguing with Bill O'Reilly. All right, hang on. Let's roll it back here. just watch Chris Cuomo's face. You know, he's so sad.
This isn't about censorship, all right? This is about responsibility. And as you pointed out correctly, every corporation has a responsibility to make sure the product it is selling is an honest product.
Oh, wow.
And by saying that MAGA might have been responsible for murder, not only is that defamatory, but it's outrageous. What Kimmel did is inexplicable to me.
Oh, man. Oh, I love Bill. I was on the show. Remember when I was on the show? Right after I was on his show right after Tucker Carlson got fired from Fox News over the Dominion scandal. Bill O'Reilly wanted to get my take on where Tucker was going next. And of course, he turns to the expert of online news, yours truly, Gary Franchi, the trailblazer, the pioneer, who's been here for 20 years kicking ass. Oh, yeah. They've tried to take me down more times than I can count. But I'm still here, bitches. Film Lad says, I think both Nexstar and Sinclair were perfectly capable of reading the news. The Zerg rush of normal people getting mass quantities of crazies fired all week is not exactly hidden knowledge. I'm not sure what the hell he's trying to say here. But he was quote tweeting Dana Loesch. We, the FCC, haven't told anyone that they had to get rid of Kimmel. Dana Loesch quoting Brandon Carr of the FCC. Dana Loesch with a new haircut, sporting bangs. That's a new look, Dana. Okay, well, let's hear what she. Let's hear this little exchange.
Jimmy Kimmel, and so you've never called ABC. I don't even think you can legally. You never called ABC. You never called Sinclair. You never called Nexstar. You never said you got to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel, or the FCC is going to come down on you and look at your licenses, Sinclair, or look at your licenses, Nexstar. That never happened.
No, we never told anybody that they had to get rid of Kimmel. Frankly, I was surprised to see that Disney took that step. I was pleased when I saw Nexstar do it, when Sinclair did it. When I saw the news of Kimmel getting suspended by Disney, at first I thought maybe people were just misreporting on the Nexstar piece of it. And so we'll see where it goes from here.
And
yeah, see, they didn't pick up the phone. They didn't open up Project 2025 and execute Order 66. TV News Now. Jimmy Kimmel's going nuclear over this. He's furious and pissed off at the decision to suspend him. This is the last straw for Jimmy, according to the Ingram Angle, talking with Raymond Arroyo. I remember I ran into Raymond in the airport once. That was fun. Okay, let's listen. We got Eric Swalwell up next. Okay, let's hear what this short clip from the Ingram Angle.
They had a jump. Apparently, the Daily Mail is reporting that Kimmel was going nuclear over this. He's furious, Raymond. He's PO'd over the decision to suspend him, and now he's not taking it lightly. And this is the last straw for Jimmy. This is the last straw for Jimmy. He said he already has a new job, and it's lit a fire. Apparently, it already has. Well, I spoke to people close to that show over the summer. They told me they were looking for another host then. This seems like it was convenient on ABC to sort of move them aside. But like so many of these guys, they had a John to decide to follow. Instead of John Carson, they followed Jon Stewart. It is ratings oblivion, and here we are. Apparently, the Daily Mail.
The ratings. Eric Swalwell, sporting a new look too. Baseball cap and clear framed glasses. It looks like he's like going into a wood shop class to spin a lathe. Oh, his hat's the Jimmy Kimmel live hat. Oh, your solidarity. Eric swallows well. A flustered Eric Swalwell. Colin Rugg says, a flustered Eric swallows well, says Jimmy Kimmel losing his show should shake every American. Says Greg Gutfeld is not funny. Oh, you know what? Greg Gutfeld's actually the king of late night. That's a show. That's actually a funny-ass show. If there is a late night show and I get an opportunity, putting on Gutfeld. Okay, let's listen to Swallows Well with his woodshop glasses.
Funny and go on.
Congressman, I see you are wearing a hat. What does that hat say?
You're damn right I am, John.
You're damn right
was a guest
I
on the Jimmy Kimmel show. He every night has a right to come into any house that wants to watch and entertain Americans, just as Greg Gutfeld on Fox has a right to be not funny and go on his network and entertain Americans. It's a part of who we are, John, and frankly, it should shake every American that the President of the United States is out there firing comedians who make fun of him. That is not who we are.
What?
It should shake every American that the President of the United States is out there firing comedians.
Wow. He said the President of the United States is out there firing comedians. Is President Trump, does he own ABC News now? Does he own ABC? Did I miss a headline? Todd, can you run a check real quick? Did President Trump, did he buy ABC? I need a fact check on that. No. That's a no? Confirmed. Okay, we've just confirmed. Our producer has confirmed Donald Trump is not the owner of ABC. Eric Swalwell? Seriously, bro? What are you worried about? Splinters from your lathe? Yeah, buddy. You better worry about the toothpick in your eye before you try to pull the toothpick out of someone else's eye, buddy. Okay? This guy. Unbelievable.
It should shake every American that the President of the United States is out there firing comedians who make fun of him. That is not who we are, and every American should care and stand up to this.
Congressman, I see you are wearing a hat. What does that hat say?
Wow, Eric Swalwell. The lover to the late Chinese spy Fang Fang on CNN spreading absolute lies. I mean, like that was a straight up, that was a lie as bad as what Jimmy Kimmel said. But see, the difference here is this is CNN. This is a cable news channel. You're supposed to believe the news. Well, I guess it's CNN. So, I mean, everything they say is pretty much a lie. So, man, paging the House of Representatives. All right. Okay. Oh, speaking of liars. Okay. Blue Georgia. Clearly a Democrat X account, says this is the real reason Jimmy Kimmel is being taken off the air, quoting Brian Stelter in my best Mark Dice interpretation. Shout out, Mark. Nexstar is already owns lots of TV stations. It wants to merge with Tegna. Oh, okay, so they're saying this is a conspiracy now. This is a conspiracy. Okay. So we have Brian Stelter on CNN. Okay, let's just hear. Let's hear the new grand conspiracy from CNN.
Nexstar already owns lots of TV stations. It wants to merge with Tegna, which owns lots of other stations. In order to do that, it needs Brandon Carr, the FCC chair's permission, and it actually needs the FCC to change the regulations entirely about how many stations an individual company can own. So Nexstar has all of this pending business before the government. Tegna also does. And there's another big station owner called Sinclair that also has business pending before the government. So what do we know tonight? We know that both Nexstar and Sinclair called up ABC this afternoon, complained about Kimmel, and said they were yanking the show off their stations. ABC subsequently yanked the show nationwide. So we know that two major TV station owners, both of which need to curry favor with the Trump administration, were the ones that most loudly and vocally condemned Kimmel and said they were going to not air the show tonight and in the coming nights. It's an Occam's razor situation. It's exactly what it looks like. Nexstar.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Humpty Dumpty spewing his lies. I'm not gonna try and finish that. Caitlin Collins stuck in the middle on that frame there, with her just dead stare. So Stelter's saying that the Nexstar and Sinclair fired Kimmel, suspended Kimmel, whatever you want to say, and then what they ran to Brandon Carr. Oh, hey, Brandon Carr, guess what? You know, we want that big deal, right? Yeah. The one we've been working on, that big merger. Yeah. Well, I got good news for you. Yeah. We fired him. He's gone. Yeah, we did exactly as you said. Okay, sure. Oh my goodness. I was not planning on spending this much time on this topic, but it's just too good. Speaking of losers, here is the head mortician at the Senate, Chuck Schumer.
What Brandon Carr is doing is despicable. What he did to Jimmy Kimmel, he is doing to person after person, network after network, intimidating them and threatening them. He is one of the greatest threats to free speech America has ever seen. He should resign immediately. Trump should fire him. What Brandon Carr is doing is despicable. What he did to Jimmy Kimmel, he is doing...
Even Chuck Schumer's like, Brandon Carr did this. This is Brandon Carr's fault. No, it was ABC's decision. Rob Bluey said, I had to explain on CNN yesterday why celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk was offensive and those doing it should be held accountable. Jimmy Kimmel should also suffer the consequences for his violent and insensitive comments. Do these people have no decency?
People who are...
Rob, to your mind, when you see people justifying doing this now, what do you make of their arguments? Does it feel somehow right in this context, but not right in the past context that the left talked about it?
Well, Audie, I agree with what Vice President J.D. Vance said there. I think there is a distinction between what you've seen in the past versus what you're seeing today. People who are celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I would put in a different category than others in the past who've been canceled for expressing their political views, which are far different from what you're seeing play out on social media platforms. The employers are ultimately going to make the decision if they want people to work for their companies that express those particular views.
And that's what ABC did. Oh, here's a beautiful meme. Jimmy Kimmel hanging out the window serving McDonald's. And then that famous picture of all them on Air Force One, or maybe that was Trump Force One, of Elon and Don Jr. and RFK Jr., Speaker Johnson eating McDonald's. Oh, what's this? Oh, no. Okay, so here we have another clip. This will be our last one. Curtis Houck, CNN's Mr. Shermichael Singleton on ABC's suspending Jimmy Kimmel.
Market in this country. Well, first of all, I thought Kimmel's comments were just stupid. I mean, obviously, based on the evidence that we have heard thus far from the investigators and prosecutor who's currently in charge of the case, it certainly appears, and I want to use the word appears, that this guy was certainly someone who had an ideology that I would argue, if you were looking at a political spectrum, is on the left of that political spectrum versus being on the right, number one. That said, I think Disney is looking at their bottom line. I mean, Disney has faced several tough cycles where they have had some serious financial issues. And when you have Nexstar and Sinclair, those two entities combined cover 80% of the local television market in this country. If those two conglomerates are saying we're not going to carry this show because it's not in sync with our values as corporations, or we've heard some anger from some of our individuals who watch in our various stations, or as Bill stated, you have business before the federal government that you would like to move forward. And by the way, those companies have a fiduciary responsibility to grow and expand those companies for their investors, and they're canceling, then ABC had no choice but to say, you know what, if we don't cancel this, then you run the risk of conservatives saying we're canceling Disney Plus. We're not going to Disney World or Disneyland. We're going to no longer purchase anything that fits under the Disney umbrella. That becomes a very serious question if you're Bob Iger running this company. That
And you know the irony? Democrats are canceling their Disney Plus subscriptions over this. If you got value for this report, tab subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is what happens when you mock murdered patriots on national television, when you spread outright lies that go against the public interest. Democrats' hysteria over Kimmel's suspension reveals everything. Swalwell says it should shake every American. saying Donald Trump orchestrated this. Schumer demanding resignations. Why the panic? Because they just lost their most reliable propagandist. For years, Kimmel poisoned minds with partisan hate disguised as comedy. He normalized attacking conservatives, smearing Trump voters, and now outright lying about an assassination. But dancing on Charlie Kirk's grave was the final straw. ABC had enough, okay? It was their choice. See, the ratings had already tanked. The comedy was already dead. And when you joke about political murder and spread lies about it, you cross a line even Hollywood can't ignore. Bill O'Reilly, he nailed it. It's not censorship, it's responsibility. Scott Jennings said it plain. Free speech doesn't guarantee you a TV show when you lie about dead Americans. Here's the question. Should networks fire all hosts who lie about political violence? Drop a yes or a no. Let's continue this conversation. And remember, we got merch that triggers them even more at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.